Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome in to Sons of UCF Live. Adam, hello. How are you? How's the week?
Trace, good to see you. Good to see everybody out there in Night Nation. Long week so far. I don't know what that's been like. Long week, and it got a little longer this afternoon with some more transfer portal news and comings and goings and happenings. But excited about this show. We're going to meet somebody new for the first time, Trace, tonight on the show. So excited about that. Thanks everyone for joining in, and stick around for the next hour-ish as we go through whatever we can for UCF athletics.
What is the shortest show we've ever done? Have we clocked in less than an hour ever?
I don't know that we ever hit less than an hour. I have to go back to the archives.
Goals.
We're doing this math recently. I think this is like 250 plus of these. We don't number them like we have other shows, but I think we're in that same ballpark. So
can we figure that out though, or do we have to just count? Do we have to go through YouTube and count, or is there a means determining this?
It's a great question. Any means
seems like an intern job.
It does. Don't we have like 9 or 10 of those laying around that can maybe do some math for me on this part?
At Mr. Matt Dolan reminding us 17 weeks until the start of the 2025 UCF football season. Fifth quarter UCF, 119 days until the Knights open up. Now, who's going to be on that roster? I will tell you, I was particularly busy this Thursday, as I imagine you were. And it's hard to believe at times that not everybody spends their life on social media all day, every day, and may not know everything that's going on. But could you help me a little Q&A here, if you would, and what you can share here about this?
Hit me.
The college football transfer portal closed last week.
That's correct. That's it. Yes.
That's
affirmative.
Right.
Affirmative.
And this Thursday, today,
yes,
we got portal news that cornerback Payton Johnson has entered the portal. So sort of a delayed announcement, and so far, I'm right. I've got this.
This is all accurate. Yes, the timeline is accurate in terms of portal closing and today's entry by Payton Johnson. Yes.
Now, could you explain to me how SMU factors into the storyline? Do you understand that?
I do not. I do not understand that. Kudos to I saw Brandon Helwig at UCFsports.com talking about the SMU factor. They had to sort of release him
because he had transferred.
That begs the question: how is he
at
playing?
One point?
How is he playing at UCF then? If SMU owned his transfer rights, I mean, this is going to shock you, Trace. But I'm going to go on a limb here and tell you, I don't think we've got all this college football stuff figured out. I don't think we've got all this nailed down here. And somehow, via SMU, this feels like a 3-team trade in like the NFL. You know, where the pick is sent to the team via another team. It feels like that may be what happened today with Payton Johnson.
I liked the quarterback exchange that happened informally with Tennessee and UCLA. Right? That was interesting. So Payton rumored from various national college football sites as perhaps going to USC, which for those of you playing at home is in the Big Ten.
Yes. This was the second worst kept secret behind Mustafa Cham's transfer to Cincinnati. I think this has been in the works for a couple of days.
Did Mamadou Njai have anything to do with this? I don't know.
It's a great question. If you're looking for connections, Trovon Reed, the former cornerback coach at UCF, now the cornerback coach at USC or SoCal. I don't know what we call them there. So he's out at USC. So that could be your connection if you want to look there. Obviously, the reports are a large sum of money has been offered in Payton's direction, and he has made the decision perhaps to explore that opportunity and walk away from UCF, which, again, this is the tough part. He walked away from UCF in December, walked back in, and is now walking back out in May. This is the quintessential thing. I don't know if I can say this without sounding like super, super old, but this is another quintessential don't hate the player, hate the game situation. I get someone making a decision that maybe makes the best financial sense for them, but the system is set up to allow that to happen. And you can't necessarily fault people for taking advantage of a system that allows these loopholes and these opportunities for you to go do something. And it seems like if all reports are accurate, Payton Johnson will do that. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a Pete Nakos or a Hayes Fawcett committed graphic to USC in the next couple of days.
How good do you think Payton Johnson has been?
It's a great question. I mean, statistically, right, there's not a lot of stats that pop off the paper. He, again, for those who forget, just 6 short months ago, he actually committed to USC, left them to go to SMU. So that shows that there must be talent there that coaches are seeing on tape that recognize that he can build and develop. So this is a tough one where I don't think stats tell the full story, but he's also second year into college football. Anything can happen from a development perspective. Obviously, I think UCF really liked where he was at and what he was producing here for the Knights in his brief stint here or with SMU. I'm not sure who he was really with while he was here, but it must be nice to have some money to burn, I guess is how I'd phrase that.
So there's a yard sale coming up at some point, right? In May. With UCF. Is that where you could buy one of those hometown hero banners? Could you get those on the cheap now? What does that hometown hero moniker mean? I will say this. I do believe that at the moment we hear from a player post-practice or in a media availability, I believe they believe in that moment that that's where they are and that's what they're committed to. And if something else comes along, they have to consider that, as you say, based on the rules that are available now, and they've got to make the best financial decisions for themselves. I mean, we spoke with Payton Johnson during practice. I caught up with him at a Brits Bunch fundraising event, a community event, and he certainly was saying all the right things about UCF, and I believe he meant those at that moment in time during those conversations.
Yeah, look, I don't want to impugn his character. I don't know what his head was thinking, what his heart was thinking. I think to your point, he was all in, and the system allowed for an opportunity to hear other things, and other things came his way. And look, I think any one of us in situations where perhaps a double, triple, quadruple salary raise is put on your desk, I think it's easy for us to pound the table and say, no, I would always stay loyal, but I think that's much harder to do when you see the actual figure in front of you. So it's hard to blame the kids in these situations. I think they are genuine in the moment in most cases, and then new information is presented to them and they say, well, wait a minute, I think I need to consider this. I think Jason is a really interesting story because we're going to play the clips in a second, but I think this is such a good juxtaposition of what these kids are going through and thinking about, and sort of how things can quickly shift and change for them as this new era of college football comes upon all of us.
You've been slicing and dicing the sound bites. Where shall we begin with that? Which one is the
let's start with Chasen after the first open practice. He was asked by Matt Michelle and a follow-up by Brandon Helwig about kind of recommitting to UCF.
Man, Coach Frost. I woke up, I seen the news that Frost was back, and Gabe Davis, a former player here, he was telling me about him. I was just big on Frost, so yep.
Gabe Davis, out of curiosity, he's another Sanford Seminole guy. Yeah. He played for Coach Frost. Did you ever have a discussion with him? Did he ever kind of recommend Coach Frost to you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, he played with him, so he just told me everything he stood on in his morals, and that just really fitted the type of player I am. So I appreciate Gabe for giving me insight on that and leaving me here, because this feels like home.
Fun fact, just a few feet away was Gabe Davis as that interview was going on. Yeah. You were there. True. You were there for
I was also a few feet away, near Gabe Davis when that was going on as well. But then, Trace, you had opportunity, I want to say almost 7 days after that, maybe 8 days after that, at a community event with Brits Bunch. And Chasen was there supporting the community. And you had a chance to kind of talk to him about his role in the community and what he wanted to achieve. And I found this exchange that you all had really interesting.
I wasn't put in the best situation, growing up. I had to move from state to state and stuff, and I just really didn't grow up in really the ideal environment for real. So just having to persevere through like all the hard times, and just seeing these kids out here, they really going through like similar struggles that I did. So like being in foster care and stuff, just having to be away from my parents and being able to just be on my own. So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah, and off camera, and I don't think it's violating any confidence, he spoke with me for a few moments just about how he came to some choices in his life and could have gone down a more difficult path, and got his head on straight and surrounded himself with some positive role models, and got him to where he is now. And from where he's at in growing up in Sanford and Seminole County, when they're offering you these schools, USC or SMU, offering you these big bucks, what is he supposed to say? And again, you say it's within the framework of the rules. And I think you want to get upset with him, but he's an early 20s-year-old. And these dollars that are being tossed around, upwards of $2 million for Mustafa, 18 years old, reportedly near that for Lee Hunter, now at Texas Tech. Who amongst us would turn those dollars down? Black and gold banneret. Welcome.
Wow.
9:00 live on Thursdays.
Wow.
Hey!
The only look. I think those sound clips are so telling because you understand kind of the where someone maybe come from and what financial stability would mean to him and his family. But you also hear a guy who I think genuinely loves being in Orlando, loved playing with his team, loved Coach Frost, and was really happy here. But again, when door number 2 opens and the check has a comma in it and another comma in it, it's really tough for all of us to say we don't want to do that. And so it's hard to hate on Jason Johnson. Like, it's frustrating as a fan. I'm frustrated, Trace. I know you are. I know Night Nation. We're all frustrated because you want to root for these guys and you want to know who your team is and you want to follow these kids. And they're only here for several months and they're already gone. And it's frustrating. But the reality is, look, you can hold Jason to a standard that I don't know how many of us would meet in turning that down. But the system and everything that's in place right now with the structure allows it to be this way. And it's really hard to blame a 20-year-old kid who clearly articulates some challenges he's had previous in life to turn down some money that could be life-changing and generational for him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next. He's changed his mind, perhaps. He changes his mind again. Is this the biggest loss now in the portal on paper? I mean, the bigger name was Dylan Risk. Obviously, he started some games last year, quarterback, but wasn't really in the mix. You would have thought Jason Johnson would have been in the mix for a position.
Yeah, I would think so, right? I would think it was he was obviously slotted for cornerback spot. And again, listen, it wasn't, I don't think it was accident. This whole spring we talked about the ability to talk to players and have players, come to the podium. Jason was chosen to come on a day where they could have picked anybody. They picked one offensive leader, Miles Montgomery, and one defensive guy, Jason Johnson. I think UCF was really banking on Jason being kind of a face of this defense and perhaps a breakout star for them. And he decides to take those talents to the other West Beach, I guess we'll call that, and SoCal, and it sucks. We all hurt from it, right? But it's the system, and it's really hard to hold him at fault for making a decision that, again, I think a lot of us would make.
Well, of course, this news breaks Thursday afternoon, several days after that portal closed. Again, reminding you of that. And Suns intern Dwayne Jones put together a little package on looking back at the defensive backs during spring camp.
UCF defensive backs will be led this season by Coach Brandon Harris, who's called this year's spring camp an adventure. I'm Dwayne Jones with the Sons of UCF, and this DBs group added some new talent through the transfer portal, and Syracuse transfer Jaden Bellamy and Memphis transfer DJ Bell. This is one of the deepest rooms this Knights team has, and Coach Harris says it's been competition and education from day one. He's described this spring as a fun learning experience for both him and his players.
The main thing I see, though, is the fact that they're asking the right questions. I like that. The first couple of days, it was kind of just cut and dry. It was kind of like, all right, Coach, you tell me what to do, and I'll try to do that. But as practices have progressed and as we've gotten more meeting time, the IQ has went up, and now they're texting me at nights and they're calling me on the weekends saying, Coach, I could have done better on this rep, or we could have played this a little bit better. So they're kind of catching on to the coaching points. They know what the expectations are. And when those guys start speaking the same language as you, that's something to start feeling good about.
It's been very competitive, because we got me, DJ Bell, Kari, Chasen, and that's really the main key players. We all played college football. We already know what it takes to be a good athlete at corner. So it's been very competitive, and we got safeties like Phillip, Jaden, Jair, CP. I feel like it's going to be a very good back end.
As all, we've been, loving on each other, sharing the knowledge that we have with each other. We all have playing experience, of course, so I feel like that helps us out the most. We're the most experienced group, so I feel like we're going to be a great group.
We'll see who rises to the top of this talented group when the fall rolls around, as the starting spots are still up for grabs. I'm Dwayne Jones with the Sons of UCF.
How about Dwayne? All business with the over-the-shoulder graphic on the TV monitor,
I like
perfectly framed.
I like that. No, listen, Dwayne's nickname around here is business, because when it's time to go, Dwayne is ready to go. Tripod over shoulder, camera in hand, and he's out there getting it done too. So good breakdown for the defensive back group from Dwayne. Obviously changing by the day apparently, but good
next
breakdown
man up
of what we have. Absolutely, next man up. Once a night, always a night.
Yeah, some opportunity for some other guys. Of course, that's a name that exited the portal after the portal closed, but UCF's bringing guys in. Linebacker Jaden McDonald from Virginia Tech, wide receiver Chris Damerkant from Chattanooga, safety Jaden Williams, FAU, defensive tackle Jarris LaFontant from Bethune-Cookman, and got a lot of guys out of Limestone. Offensive tackle Owen Spell, right? This is the second guy.
Listen, we are mining the limestone. Yes, absolutely. The limestone pipeline will be bone dry by the time Scott Frost and the staff is done.
It's funny to me, as I asked Andrew Cherico if he'd put together something on wide receivers and tight ends, kind of recapping spring camp, how much we all sort of said, oh my goodness, what are we going to do without Day Farmer, who went down with an injury, never played a snap of football in a UCF uniform. It shows you the uncertainty that Night Nation feels about that position, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of change that's going to happen. I saw a bunch of people today on social media saying, just tell me who's on the team in August, because it does feel like, you get used to a name and that name's not here for whatever reason. And this receiver group, Trace, is going to be a little bit by committee, I think, right? I don't know there's any one name that's going to jump off the page at you and you're going to say this is going to be that leader of that group, right? This is not the Gabe Davis, the Traquan Smith that we maybe are used to in previous seasons. This may be by committee, but I think there's some excitement about what this group can be and what they can do. Can they stay and get healthy? You talked about Day Farmer being out. Marcus Burke, another transfer from Florida, didn't play a ton this spring with an injury. So can these guys all come together? Social media would tell you today, UCF still offering kids in the portal at the receiver position. So clearly they want to continue to add to that role. So stay tuned. It's May 1st. Who knows who's on this team by August 1st and if we have a star receiver there. But if we do, I imagine Andrew Cherico will figure that out and cover that in this latest report.
Yeah. Cherico here for the Sons of UCF. Now that spring camp is over, we're able to view and analyze some of the position groups that took the field this spring. I'll be discussing the playmakers, which includes the wide receivers and the tight ends. After wide receiver 1 Kobe Hudson has moved on to the NFL, let's be honest, this has left a big question mark in this wide receiver room for who's going to step up in this new offense. Over spring, we got to speak with head coach Scott Frost and associate head coach and wide receiver coach Sean Beckton Sr., and they both let it be known that it's an open competition for the starting spots at wide receiver, and it's available for all the receivers in the room.
Across the board, I saw strides. One of our issues is going to be we have talent at a lot of places. We're inexperienced at some. We're inexperienced at safety. We're inexperienced at wide receiver. Largely inexperienced at quarterback. The talent's there at almost every position. It's a matter of getting those guys game ready. And you never really know until you see them operate in games. So we're going to have to work through that as a team and as a coaching staff.
That's the thing that we say pretty much every day. Right now we have a group that coach doesn't want us to change. They're starting, but they know we're competing every single day. I keep a chart on catches, how many drops. I keep a chart on effort. I keep a chart on loafs. I keep a chart on what I call 2-yard rule.
Already with such a big question mark at wide receiver, UCF couldn't afford to lose talent to injury, but they already have, losing wide receiver Day Farmer to a leg injury where he announced he'll be out for the season. The injury came during an open scrimmage where he had an awkward cut during an Oklahoma drill.
Day, that was unfortunate. It was just a non-contact cut that he made, and he was doing some really good things too, so we're excited about Day going forward, but he's going to have his knee worked on here in a little while.
We got to speak with veteran receivers DJ Black and junior Dwayne Thomas. They're both excited to be in this offense with lots of versatile playmakers and open spots for competition. Coach Beckton calls Black a silent leader. Coach Beckton calls Thomas a spark plug, as he's got the nickname Speedy. And these guys are two of the fastest receivers that you'll find in the room.
It takes a lot less pressure off just knowing that I could come in and just be able to just be me and play and just go out and compete and show that I'm capable of playing in this conference and just coming out every day for practice during the spring and making plays. So. I see a lot of playmakers. It's a lot of playmakers. From the slot position, we got freshmen that's playing outstanding. They're learning everything. As far as my role, I just want to be that twitchy guy, that speed guy. I want to be the leader in the group. I'm going into the back half of my career, my college career. So I'm really trying to be the leader. Just being consistent, keeping them motivated, keeping them going.
Now moving on to some more receivers who had an impressive spring, beginning with redshirt senior Marcus Burke, who showed lots of flashes and potential of being able to start for this UCF team. Now moving on to redshirt freshman Bradell Richardson, Coach Becton said he has the best hands out of any receiver in the group. He just needs to continue to work on his every down effort. And last but not least, freshmen Waden Charles and Carl Jenkins Jr., who Coach Becton marked as the future of the program at the wide receiver position, and although they're young, they've caught up really well to the other receivers in the room. Another group that we learned a little more from during the spring is the tight end position, and after Randy Pittman Jr. transferred to Florida State, another tight end in the room has to step up and take command of the role. The three contenders for that leading position right now is sophomore Kylan Fox, junior Dylan Wade, and redshirt junior Thomas Wadsworth. Kylan Fox has been seen making some impressive grabs and winning the one-on-ones, as well as tight end Dylan Wade, who both tight ends share similar play styles. And on the other hand, you've seen Thomas Wadsworth make some impressive grabs, as well as help out in the run blocking game. Offensive coordinator and tight end coach Steve Cooper said it was all about the tight ends learning the offensive system for the spring so they can compete in the fall.
Important thing in football is playing to your strengths, and right now we're evaluating, we're getting the wheels on the track in relationship to fundamentals and finding out what we have. There's really no depth chart right now. Everyone has an equal opportunity to get reps. Everyone's getting reps because it's spring training camp. So when we figure out who the key playmakers are and when we figure out what we're going to be best at, that's when we can lean into those things schematically.
I think my biggest skill set is just me being a route runner at 237, but I want to be able to work on my blocking as well and just be able to be a complete tight end, because at the end of the day I want to be able to be a complete tight end in the NFL.
So. It's explosive, I can say that. It would be a lot of big plays in the run game and pass game. We got guys everywhere who can do a lot of different things, so it's special.
While there's plenty of new playmakers on this roster, we learned some insight, but not enough to predict who's going to win positions, especially with players going in and out of the current transfer portal. Positions will be won in the fall. And until next time, I'm Andrew Cherico for the Sons of UCF.
Thank you, Andrew. I like that he featured that video. The best video I got all spring was of tight end Thomas Wadsworth on that catch coming right at me. I mean, I was accidental. It just happened in front of me. I couldn't miss it as it was coming right at me. But that was pretty comprehensive. A lot of likable guys, guys that are really good with the mic, guys that you can root for, certainly.
Yeah, again, we've said it every show. I've really enjoyed having a chance to get to know some of these guys. But is that the last Thomas Wadsworth highlight for the year, Trace? Over under Thomas Wadsworth highlights. 1.5.
I know we're going to take that over under 24.5 on the tight ends. I feel like that's going to be an under. You know what I do want to do when the roster is finalized prior to that first.
When's that going to be, by the way?
During the first half of the game, I'd like to. Do a percentage of how many guys are there 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and less than 1 year, because we saw some of that last year as well. What do you think the over-under is on a roster of 4-year guys?
So a guy who would be on his fourth season this upcoming season?
With UCF.
Gosh, I don't even.
Do we say with UCF or do we just? Yeah, we got it. Yeah, with.
Yeah, it's got to be with UCF. I'm thinking off the top of my head. Rubelt 1.
No, but I mean, no. When this roster is fine,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to think through how many. Rubelt is the only name that comes to mind off the top of my head. It's probably a walk-on.
Like a freshman. I mean,
TJ Bullard is a good answer. Jan, I think, has TJ been here 4 years already?
4.
Are we that old?
Well, you can find all of our camp reports right now on Sons of UCF's YouTube channel. Coming off of the NFL draft, we got into it a little bit on Around the Kingdom this week. I believe it was Eric Lopez who referred to quarterback Dylan Gabriel as basically a jockey, making a little light of his height. It was RJ Harvey, though. It goes in the second round to the Denver Broncos and Mac McWilliams to the Philadelphia Eagles. How do you think it shakes out there? Good fits for both of those guys, and certainly second round opportunity to do something in Sean Payton's offense out in Denver.
Yeah, look, you would think if Denver, gives a second round pick to RJ Harvey, that tells you that they very, highly value him. I feel like he could be a Swiss Army knife kind of guy in the NFL. We'll see what his rookie season looks like. But if at the end of the year he was averaging, 40 rushing yards and 25 passing yards a game, receiving yards a game rather, I I would buy that, right? And a couple of touchdowns. So obviously, I think Sean Payton sees a mix for him in the offense. They don't have a stout running game or a lead back in the NFL right now for Denver. So that's how the NFL works right now, Trace. It's a lot of, running back by committee. RJ could really kind of come in there. And if you're Mac McWilliams, you're going to Super Bowl champions, right? I mean, it's a team that's obviously done a great job defensively. And so it's probably no better spot for you to be at than a team that has had a ton of success and gone to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls and won the last one. So probably a pretty good opportunity for a guy like Mac McWilliams.
You may remember a time of the Senior Bowl, Bailey Adams of the Pegasus podcast, who does some work covering the Tampa Bay Bucks, was at the Senior Bowl, caught up with RJ Harvey and Mac McWilliams. We have a little sound from that time.
You have a favorite game in your time at UCF?
Favorite game, I said Oklahoma Space game, Oklahoma State, Arizona Space game, winner against Cincinnati.
Something about the space games, right? Yeah.
Game winner against Cincinnati in 2022, and probably USF 2022.
And remember, he had the good times too, so he showed himself a speedster.
It's so interesting. I was thinking about this earlier, Trace. Like 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this last, couple of years of UCF football, and the only positive I think we may remember is RJ Harvey. Like, he's going to be what you think about when you think about this last couple of year time period at UCF football. He's really the shining light, the thing that you can gravitate to. And I know a lot of folks had him in, 4th, 5th round. To see him go 2nd round, it just shows you obviously that the value it had. Also makes you scratch your head. We had a 2nd round running back and went 4 and 8. Makes you wonder.
Well, remember, he himself said that on social media,
scratching his head at that as well. Yeah. But I think he will be the thing that we remember when we think about this stretch of UCF football. I think that'll be the name that comes to mind. And that'll be the thing we kind of all gravitate to.
And Mac McWilliams, just a season with UCF, but showed enough and promised there that the Eagles wanted him.
What's this experience this week been like for you so far?
It's been great, man. Having NFL coaching me up, showing me different ways to critique myself. It's been great.
Once a night, always a night when you finish with the nights? Is that how that goes?
It's a great question. I can't wait to figure out what some of these kids are going to start doing for the, the player introduction.
Going back to their high school.
And
unless you're Davi Belfort. In which high school when you had 4?
I'm just fascinated.
Four high schools.
We're going to elementary school. I don't know where we're going at this point, but it's going to be fascinating to see.
Well, speaking of 4-year players, Darius Johnson, UCF men's basketball, concluded in the Crown just a few weeks back. He was a 4-year night, right? You don't see many of those. You had opportunity to catch up with him this week.
Yeah, it was good to catch up with Darius. Obviously, he's a name that all of us at UCF will always know and remember for what he's accomplished. And you're right, Trace. Is he going to be the last guy from a 4-year perspective that you kind of gravitate to and say, I remember him. I remember watching him grow as a freshman and kind of seeing all the different warts. And he was kind enough to kind of join us. Now, I will give you some pre-warning. Was driving in a car.
Warning.
Was driving in a car during the majority of this conversation.
Was he driving or a passenger?
No, he was driving. He was driving in the car during this conversation. So
is that safe?
No laws were broken in the making of this video, and we'll have the full interview out at some point in time. There's some technical stuff, but one of the things I was most curious about to ask him, Trace, was we all talked about the Crown and what that meant, and I was curious what he thought of that as a player, someone participating in the Crown. Here's what Darius had to say about UCF going to the Crown tournament.
I was definitely a little bit shaky about it. But that's like I said, now I have a dad on staff, so I get to, see more benefits, why it's beneficial for us to be playing. I think it was a great experience because, for one, it was an opportunity to continue to play while no one else was playing. So I think we had that going for us. The only other guys that were playing was, the guys that were playing in March Madness. So we had that going for us. Obviously it was a prize for money as well. So that was super exciting. And you had a chance to still be watched by scouts. It's only so much basketball going on and being played. So we had that opportunity as well. If you're still trying to, get your name out there or still trying to prove yourself that you belong, we had that opportunity too.
Is this the first interview you've done with somebody driving?
I think so. While they're driving, I think so.
Did you get a little emotion? We had people in cars, all kinds of people in cars in various levels of proper lighting, but this is the first one.
I do want to address this, Troy. I did hear the blinker a few different times. I did hear the blinker. I do believe it was safe driving was being practiced by Darius Johnson.
It looks safe. Seatbelt on.
Seatbelt was on.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to say anything negative about Darius, but if he had not been wearing a seatbelt for any reason, now the car would have beeped and screamed.
There would have been some audio.
Would you have stopped the interview? Would you have said, Darius, I need you to put that seatbelt on?
As a concerned citizen, of course I would have. But the real story here is at the end, we find out where he was going on that trip.
Oh, well, we don't want to give that away.
What he was going to do. So stay tuned next week on the Suns YouTube. I got to do some surgery on that. There are some technical things, but it'll be out at some point. But stay tuned for where Darius was going, what he was going to do, and what may be forthcoming for Darius.
We're talking to everybody on the Sons of UCF and getting to know players, even in the midst of the transfer portal and players coming and going, is still important to us, certainly. And I know to so many of you who connect with Night Nation, there's a new addition to women's soccer, redshirt senior transfer from Charlotte. It is soccer, women's soccer, that opens up its season first with an exhibition on August 2nd. We welcome in Payton Patrick now to Sons of UCF Live. Payton, welcome.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me.
We know you're working with the Influencer Council, and we thank them for helping set this up. I'll tell you what, when I looked at your bio, we want to talk a little bit about your play and what you're like on the field, but I got to tell you, the family tree just blew me away. Is there anybody in your family that is not athletic? Go through some of these. Your dad, your brother. I mean, you got a lot of athletes in your family.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really is not athletic in my family. It was definitely a blessing growing up, I would say, being super competitive with my brother. I mean, there was times my dad was breaking up, little arguments, disagreements of playing soccer in the basement for as long as I can remember. And then obviously my pop-up is amazing. He still is amazing. He actually still works out and runs all the time. So he's been just great wisdom for me going through soccer and college athletics in general. I mean, it can be a really hard process. So that's been incredible to lean on. My dad, he's amazing. He played golf at Maryland. He always says that it skipped a generation because it kind of came from my pop-up and my grandmother as well. She has passed on, but she was an incredible athlete as well. And me and my brother have just been really lucky to grow up in such an athletic family. And it's just been very, very supportive. I mean, even when my brother was playing college football, he was coming to every game he could. And I love hearing him in the stands because, my dad's a little quiet. He sits off to the side and kind of just observes. But my brother, he's cheering, he's yelling. And it's just been, really awesome, a great support system. And I'm incredibly lucky to come from such an athletic family, but just an amazing family in general.
You play soccer now. Were there other sports you played in high school?
So I stopped playing lacrosse and basketball competitively, like for a club or AAU team when I got to high school, but I did do rec basketball all the way up until senior year. And then I thought about playing in high school. It was just really hard with the club soccer. It was like super demanding. I ran track for a little bit. My grandfather loved that. I hated it, so I stopped. But super athletic into everything growing up. Maryland's a big lacrosse state, so I definitely was involved in that. But soccer really just is what I loved, so that's what I kind of ran with to focus on going into college.
How is your golf game, by the way?
Oh, gosh, you don't want to see me play golf.
Well, now we have to. Now we want to see you play golf.
No, I'm really bad. Like when we go to Top Golf, I'm like accidentally hitting it into the other people's bays. It's really bad.
Payton, you spent time at South Carolina, at Coastal Carolina, and you're here for UCF for your 5th season. What made you want to be a Knight?
So I actually almost came to UCF when I was leaving from South Carolina. The distance was a little far. I was kind of homesick when I was leaving South Carolina. But Tiff and Tim were just incredible. And I think when I initially transferred the first time, I didn't have any intention to ever transfer again. I mean, you guys talk about it on here. It's crazy. It's like the Wild Wild West in there. You go in, you don't know if you'll be picked up. Luckily, I didn't have that problem, but there's just a lot of unknowns. So when I got back into the portal for my 5th year, I talked to Tiff and Tim on the phone, and they're just incredible people. And when I came on my visit, it just felt right. And that's kind of where I am now. I'm so grateful that I did end up choosing UCF. It was been an incredible spring, definitely the most I've learned the most playing here this last spring with soccer, which is crazy because I've played 4 years at this point. But I loved them. I love the girls. Coaching staff overall is incredible. They're super professional, and you would think you would see that more at the college level, but you don't. So really extremely blessed to be here. And I also love Florida. I mean, it's really warm, so that was a plus.
Well, you ain't say nothing yet. Give us a scouting report on Payton Patrick. If you had to write a scouting report on you, what would you tell people is your strengths, and describe your game for us?
I would probably say, don't let me take you on 1v1. I love to be on the dribble. My speed is definitely my strength. However, since being at UCF, we have a lot of internationals, which is incredible. I haven't experienced that being in college soccer yet, so that's been amazing. And they are extremely technical. So I've definitely added that to my bag, which I don't necessarily wouldn't say I had before. So that's been really cool. I would say I've added that, and the teams better watch out because used to, speed be my thing, but being able to kind of add in more of that technical, especially tactical as well with the coaches, they do such an amazing job just with that aspect of the game. So I would say you don't want me running at you, but that would probably be my scout.
You mentioned head coach Tiffany Roberts-Haydack. How familiar were you with her background, U.S. national team, and all of the accolades? How much did you know about your new head coach?
Yeah, so like I said initially, the first time when I was looking at UCF, that was obviously something very important to me. It would be a dream to play with the U.S. national team, my aspiration to play professionally after, and that was very appealing, as she obviously has extremely strong connections in the soccer world. She's been through it herself, which I think is something that's overlooked these days in college soccer. Everything she puts us through is intentional, and there's a reasoning behind everything. She played at UNC. I think she lost a total of 4 games in her whole collegiate career, and
she remembers the details of
and
every
they were in the
one.
Final Four. Like, they got knocked out of the Final Four. So she's been around the game a long time, and she knows what it takes to be a champion. And I think that's really important because a lot of the time it's hard to speak on something we don't have experience, and she has all the experience in the world. So that has just been incredible. And she's a great human. I think if you ask anybody on the soccer team, yeah, she's an amazing coach, but she also cares for us, which is often hard to come by also in any college athletics. So she's great. I definitely was considering her background as well when making a decision, and she's definitely proven to be the real deal. So it's been super nice to work with her.
The team has wrapped up spring camp, but that doesn't mean you're on vacation for the next several weeks, right? You're going to stay busy in soccer over the summer.
Yeah. I'll be heading back up to Maryland to actually play with the Annapolis Blues this summer. Super excited about that, taking it back to home. Have a pretty good following just through my high school and just in the greater Baltimore area. So I know a lot of the young ones are excited to come down and watch me play there, as well as a lot of the girls on the team I actually grew up playing with in club and neighboring clubs. And there's a ton of talent in the Maryland area. And we actually have a couple Gatorade Player of the Years returning to this Annapolis Blues team. So really super excited. Ashley Kennedy is an incredible coach, excited to play under her. And this is actually the first year of the women's league, the women's team. So the men have been doing exceptional. I mean, they bring in the best of the best, and they have a great following down in Annapolis. They hit the record of like 1,000 or 11,000 fans within the league. So hoping to kind of pull from some of their, success that they've had in the area and really get us started on the women's side. But really looking forward to that. Love it up there in Maryland and haven't been back in a while. So super excited to keep the ball rolling.
Obviously, we were talking about NIL and transfer portal, and I know you're working with the good folks at the Influencer Council. As a current student athlete, how hard or confusing is all the different things that are happening these days in college athletics with transfer portal and NIL scholarships? Like you're currently in it. As fans, we're trying to figure it out. How confusing or easy or hard is it for you to figure out as you're kind of navigating this on the fly?
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. My dad loves to call it the Wild Wild West. And I actually, my first time speaking with Courtney with Influencer Council, she said the same thing. So I was like, you know what? This is meant to be. We were, meant to form this relationship together. But with the NIL, it actually started my freshman year. And I mean, it was kind of up in the air for a while. People didn't really know how to navigate it. Coaches weren't even allowed to be involved at all in the process. And there was nobody really assisting in creating those partnerships because the schools didn't want to get in trouble, tampering. Really, the only people that had some guidance in it were football. So if you weren't in football, you kind of didn't really have any luck. So I've been extremely blessed to obviously be working with Dan and Courtney over at Influencer Council. I'm super excited to keep that going. And I think they have an awesome opportunity because there is definitely a lack of guidance within that area, but the opportunity is so great. And it really just takes, a couple people tackling the issue, showing some success and some student athletes for them to really gain some traction and be helping a ton of college athletes. And it is needed. And a lot of people don't have the support or have any idea how to go about doing it. As for the transfer portal, that thing is crazy. I actually have a couple of friends in it right now. I would say it is definitely a nice thing because a lot of people commit places early. I mean, I committed to South Carolina when I was a sophomore in high school. So I had no idea really what I was committing to in 2 years for the next 4 years of my life. But obviously super grateful for the time I spent there and learned a lot. So it's definitely crazy. I think it just opened today actually, and they have until May 15th to jump in. And then they obviously can remain in the portal for however long. But there definitely needs to be some guidance, and I'm sure you guys feel that way as well. Obviously, you see it less in soccer of jumping, but even in football, especially like jumping even after 1 year to a new school. So it's crazy, but beneficial for a lot of people. So I'm thankful that it is in place because I wouldn't be here, and I love it. As you said.
Well, let's get to know you a little bit. I got some rapid fire questions to kind of get to know you a little bit. So what is your pregame song? So before a game, what are you listening to get you ready and hyped up?
So some people are probably going to think I'm about to like bust out some rap songs, but I really don't like rap. Honestly, in our pregame playlist, before like on the field, I like don't really know any of the words. My go-to would probably be some worship songs. Okay, Church Clap. I don't know if you guys know that song, but it's really hype.
Sing it.
I think it's like but it's great. And it's like not slow, it's upbeat. And it's me and my one teammate at South Carolina would actually listen to it all the time. So that's definitely a go-to. At UCF we do a little like ritual thing in the locker room before, so we listen to a couple songs there. But I usually don't wear headphones a lot, which some people like that. I don't know. I'm not usually the quiet type. Like in the locker room, I'm more kind of like bringing the energy. So, but definitely Church Clap. If you haven't heard it, you should go listen to it. It's not going to put you to sleep, I promise. It's really fun.
Since you've been in Orlando, what's your go-to spot for food? When you're hungry, you want a good meal, where are you going for food?
So honestly, okay, I've eaten a lot at the athletic dining hall, which is great. And I'm like a big steak girl. My brother makes me steak all the time when he comes into town. He's like a chef. So I go there because it's pretty good. But if I had to pick a place that was like, if I could pick anywhere, I'd probably say Hillstone, which is in Winter Park. It's really good. I need to go back there. But I'm also a huge Disney girl. So you could catch me at Disney Springs almost at any restaurant there. But there's a lot of options, and I don't find myself going out a lot just because with the spring and like being able to eat at Garvey on campus, but definitely Hillstone. So if anyone's watching this and you need to go somewhere good, I'd go there.
All right. There's two types of people in this world. The people who can have the little red button next to the text message and the people who cannot have the little red icon next to the text message. What are you? Do you have to clear the text message when you get it? Or do you have like 600, 700 text message you haven't read?
This is so hilarious because I got yelled at this today. Let's see how many text messages I have.
Uh-oh.
I have 1,260.
Thanks.
Unread?
Okay. this is my thing. I don't want to open it because if I click it and I don't respond right away, then I will forget and I won't answer the person. So I don't want to like release the blue circle unless I've like addressed it. Like if I'm like running in between like classes or something and someone texts me and I'll open it, then I'll like in my head, I'm like not thinking that I still have to answer them. It's so bad. I know. It doesn't really bother me, but I should probably go back and delete
What's the
it.
oldest one you haven't responded to?
I don't know, probably a long time. But the bad thing is I have no storage on my phone because I have so many text messages, and I had to click like delete from 1 year previous, which like really hurt me because I was like, I don't know what I'm deleting, but yeah.
Okay,
You
last
haven't heard from Payton.
Yeah, she's working on it. You're 1,000 deep in the queue. Last one. You have to watch a movie that's guaranteed to make you laugh. What movie are you gonna watch?
Step Brothers.
Oh, good call. All right.
Yeah. I actually dressed up as them on Halloween with one of my teammates. It was great.
Payton Patrick, we're glad you could share a little bit about yourself. Watch out for Disney Springs or on the golf course.
Well, don't send her a text message, though. Don't text her. Yeah, do not do that. Send her an email.
Call me.
Yeah.
Payton, thanks for being with us on Suns Live. Enjoy your time in Annapolis over the summer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Payton.
All right. Good getting to know Payton. I like this. This should be a segment that we do during our shows.
Yeah, look, the transfer portal giveth and taketh away, and we get to meet new people like Payton and introduce a new person to Night Nation. And obviously, women's soccer is a sport that is got a little bit of room to grow here in the Big 12. I think they've had some ups and downs the first couple of seasons, so we'll see what Coach Robert Sadehak and that group can do this year. And they start off 2-0. It looks like in their spring battles, Trey. So let's see what happens. I have a soccer jersey on. I'm a soccer aficionado, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Well, if we're successful, we've spoken to some intern candidates for fall, and we may have some covering men's and women's soccer, volleyball as well. So we thank Payton and Influencer Council for helping us bring this all together on Suns Live tonight. Baseball, they get a midweek win. You don't always get to say that. Knights have had some struggles. 6-15 in the Big 12 a season ago, 14-15 in the Big 12. Do the math; they got to win out. But we turn now to Nick Williams, who was there on Tuesday for our baseball. A little over a minute.
I'm Nick Williams with your UCF Baseball Minute. Well, what did you miss? UCF won their midweek matchup against UNF 9-3 here in Orlando after losing to the Ospreys off a walk-off RBI single earlier in the season in Jacksonville. UCF left 6 runners on base, which is an improvement, one that head coach Rich Wallace is working on in preparation for the 7-game away stretch that will start this weekend against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I want a really good practice tomorrow and get ready to play another quality team on the road, and the quality of baseball that we need to play in all 3 phases needs to step up if we're going to do this stuff on the road in this league, because you got Oklahoma State and that Missouri State team is a really good team, and then you got to go to Texas Tech, which is one of the hardest places to play in the country. So we got to play really good baseball and to give ourselves a chance and see if we can make a run at this thing.
It's been tough, and Big 12 play we haven't been good at all. But I think if you go back to a lot of the series and the games, there's so many, like, we're losing games by 1 or 2 plays. And if we really put it together and get hot, I guarantee you, like in the Big 12 tournament, like no one's going to want to play us. I truly do believe that, because we let a lot of teams off the hook, and I think a lot of teams know that. So I think right now we just need to focus on putting it all together and finishing games.
With the Big 12 Conference Championship inching closer and closer, these last 3 conference series are make or break for the Knights' chances to go to Arlington, Texas, with only the top 12 out of 14 teams being able to compete for the title. For the Sons of UCF, this has been your UCF Baseball Minute.
At Oklahoma State, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7-7-1. Then at Missouri State, Tuesday, 7:30. Softball, they're doing a little bit better. 9-12 in the Big 12. They're in the thick of things. Strength of schedule strong. They are in the mix for an NCAA tournament bid. They are on the road Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6, 3, and 1 o'clock at Kansas before the Big 12 championship opens up May 7 through 10 in Oklahoma City. Single elimination on that. Well, what do you think? Single or double elimination? I don't think these schools have enough pitching to survive double elimination. But boy, there's a lot on the line at the single elimination.
Yeah, I feel like double elimination gets sloppy towards the end, right? Where you're just bringing in like left fielders to
it's not your best. It's not your best sport.
It's not a representative of who the best teams are at that point.
No.
So give me single elimination. Like, win and you're in. Let's go. Everybody win.
All right. You know who's a winner? Jeff Allen. We turn now to him for our Big 12 minute.
It's the last weekend of the regular season in softball, and Texas Tech has wrapped up the regular season title. The Red Raiders currently are 18-2 in conference play and will be the number 1 seed as the conference tournament gets underway Wednesday in Oklahoma City. On the baseball diamond, West Virginia rides a 14-game win streak as they host Texas Tech in this weekend series. The Mountaineers hold a 2-game lead over Kansas, which has won 6 straight. They host Cincinnati this weekend. In tennis, the Big 12 will send 5 men's teams and 7 women's teams to the NCAA tournament as first-round action gets underway tomorrow. On the men's side, TCU will look to defend their national title as they grab the number 2 seed and will host the regional round in Fort Worth. Arizona collected the second host spot for the Big 12 after winning the conference championship. The Wildcats are a 10 seed. UCF grabbed the third host spot for the conference and will take on Miami in the first round. Arizona State will clash with Southern Cal in the San Diego Regional, and Baylor will go head-to-head with Nebraska in College Station. On the women's side, Texas Tech secured the highest seed at number 11, and they will host the Lubbock Regional after winning both the championship title and regular season crown. After finishing runner-up in the Big 12 championship, UCF will play Furman in the first round in Raleigh. Arizona heads to Charlottesville, and they open up with a contest against Illinois. Arizona State makes their 39th appearance in the tournament with a matchup with Ole Miss in the first round in Ann Arbor. Baylor will play its 5th consecutive NCAA tournament as they go against Boise State in Austin. Kansas State will travel to Chapel Hill. They will take on South Carolina, and Oklahoma State will travel to Norman and take on Tulsa in its 26th tournament appearance. With your Big 12 minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, Bailey and Christian back at it for this week's Pegasus podcast. I am on a streak.
Yeah. Well, we're perplexed.
What are you perplexed?
Yeah, Christian and I are perplexed at how this just keeps happening. We've tried different strategies.
I have a 50-50 shot here.
Different machinations, and it's just not coming. And maybe it's the way I'm saying it. Maybe it's
I love this part. I love when you do the read.
Tonight's Who Said It from our good friends at the Pegasus podcast. Okay, we're done. Let's move on.
That's terrible. That's so generic.
Okay, we're done.
That is so generic. I mean, I really don't know. I'm bound to make a mistake somewhere along the line. What did I say last week? Did I say Bailey last week? See, I'm trying to get into the psychology here. If I got a Bailey right last week, does he switch up to a Christian, or does he try to trick me into another Bailey? We'll go Christian.
Because I think someone on the bowl. Okay, we're done. Let's move.
Unbelievable. Next week, I'm going to have Christian say, I'm Bailey Adams, and just see what happens.
No, you won't get that right. I thought it would get reduced to and then I had to figure it out.
We have integrity around here at the Sons of UCF, and we think there's got to be performance enhancing. You're listening ahead of time. I mean,
but even if I was listening ahead of time, that was so obscure.
Yeah,
you want me to remember an hour-long show?
I do. I need someone to
investigate. When was I listening to
this
hour-long show?
Listen, I don't know. I don't know your schedule. I don't know what you were doing today. I mean, who knows where you were at?
But that's so generic a statement. Even if I had listened, how would I remember that?
It's exactly what someone who cheated would say.
The Pegasus podcast you can find now on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. All right, some news and notes. A lot of news and notes at this point in the year. We got a player to cue that up.
Yeah, something.
Hi, I'm Johnny Dalton, the head men's basketball coach at UCF, and you're watching Sons of UCF Live.
I remember
digging in the crates.
I think that was out in the Space Coast at one of the coaches' tour stops, which was great, by the way, because I was the only one there. So it was, fish in a barrel. Just talk to anybody I wanted to. They're 21st ranked women's tennis Big 12 regular season champs earned their 10th NCAA tournament bid in program history. They are in Raleigh, opening with Furman May 2nd. Men's tennis, 14th ranked. They host the Orlando Regional at USTA's national campus in Orlando. Cows, Gators, Hurricanes in that one. Women's golf, 6th seed in the Charlottesville Regional, 6th straight NCAA tournament appearance, 19th overall, 10 of 14 seasons. Play begins May 5th. Rowing, I'd like you to define this for me, would you? Have you done any research on this? Because you're the research guy on Around the Kingdom, but you don't always have the research. You don't have time for here. Big 12 boat of the week. How do you earn?
Blake Bortles? No.
15th ranked rowing. So good luck to all the sports whose seasons moving on to NCAA tournament. Welcome back, Eric Lopez. Kyle Nash filled in the week before on Around the Kingdom. Good to mix it up with Elo. He had the provocative line about Dylan Gabriel that I mentioned earlier, and I always look forward to the clip you pull as we talk about Around the Kingdom.
Dylan Gabriel got drafted. Like, he became the punchline because Shedeur was still not being drafted. I thought the NFL process was a joke. Shedeur is way more talented than Dylan Gabriel. He's taller, bigger, more athletic, more of a scrambler. I don't understand.
You're blaming teams because they don't want to deal with the drama that surrounds him and the attitude?
What drama? What drama?
Well, you're already hearing reports that he was not particularly cooperative during combine and other interviews.
So you rather take a quarterback that is vertical, like literally probably can't see over the offensive line, and a guy who can't stay in one place for 1 year is not even accurate at all. Like Shedeur Sanders, the better. Are you trying to get the better player, or are you trying to get a guy that sucked? Like Dylan Gabriel clearly told the Browns, "Hey, if you need me to walk Myles Garrett's dog, I'll do it. Just draft me." That's what got him the 3rd round pick. Because otherwise, he is not an NFL talent at all, Trace, at all. And you're accepting this.
So what's really funny is, well, Eric Lopez makes me laugh. Okay, yes. So that's right there. But I'm on screen and I'm here. I'm watching myself and I'm laughing at his line. And I'm laughing on the screen. So it's double laugh.
Well, I'm also laughing because I did research later. Myles Garrett actually does have a dog. So perhaps that actually is true. I don't know. Myles Garrett famously has some sort of an exotic dog or whatnot. So perhaps.
Exotic?
Well, not like, it's not like a Chihuahua. He's got some sort of.
It's a Chihuahua exotic dog?
No, I'm saying it's not an exotic. Chihuahua, not. Like his dog, exotic.
You can find Around the Kingdom on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Now, we've learned from NFL insiders that coaches were hesitant to pick Shedeur because if it doesn't work out, then perhaps the NFL team fires said head coach and brings in Prime. What do you make of that?
Look, I think that's probably much ado about nothing. I don't know, like that. I guess anything could happen. Any bad pick. The Browns just make me laugh because if you want to play Shedeur and you think he's the best quarterback, that means you screwed up the Dylan Gabriel pick 2 rounds earlier. So I don't understand what their thought process was. Whether you think one's better than the other, whatever, that's fine. That's your opinion. But the Browns saying we're going to draft this guy and then this guy, and then Shedeur will have every chance to play, which will then mean your 3rd round pick was terrible, right? I just don't know how you do the calculus on that. So maybe Dion should go to the Browns, actually, as I think through this. Perhaps they need him there.
All right, so they don't keep 4 quarterbacks, right?
No.
That's safe? So who's out? Who's out? Barring an injury, who do you think's out? Flacco?
Deshaun Watson, I don't know what his situation is.
No, I think he's on some sort of injury list. Yeah, so let's leave him out.
I think Kenny Pickett takes his 2 gloves and goes elsewhere. I think Joe Flacco holds the seat warm. They like him there. I think he can kind of move the offense. And then they let Gabriel and Sanders battle it out for 2nd and 3rd string.
What's that depth chart look like going into the season opener?
Flacco, Gabriel, Sanders is my pick.
They're going to list Gabriel as 2.
That's my pick. Yep.
All right. Time to open that Sons of UCF mailbag. Some odd.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
That emptiness form, Michael. I don't feel like asking anything. Make one up for me. What'd you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner today? I'm going to put you on the.
All right. I don't eat breakfast.
You don't eat
intermittent fasting? No, I don't start eating until 11. So at 11, I had grass-fed
beverage
beef.
Any beverages? Or drinking
water and a pre-workout supplement, grass-fed beef and eggs at 11. And then for dinner, I had steak bites, green beans, and a nice bubbly.
Okay.
Lemon lime.
How about Payton with the likes a lot of steaks? You been to Hillstone that you mentioned?
I have not been to Hillstone. Is it good?
I haven't been there in a long time.
Okay.
She kind of reminded me of it. I don't pass it, so I kind of forget about it.
Well, don't text her and ask her to go because she's not going to respond to you. So.
One of the benefits of not being on Elmo's screwed up social media platform, Twitter, is that you don't know. I don't know what this is about. Okay. Yeah. Dolly _drama. Could 100 men take on one gorilla and win? Only be UCF. And that's a pairing of two people with back-to-back questions right there. Could 100 gorillas take on RJ Harvey? Do you understand?
Yeah,
what all of that is about?
It's a social media thing now about this. Here's the thing: could 100 men take on one gorilla? A
couple of them aren't going to fare well.
The math is wrong here because the first 20 are sacrificed, right? So you're really down to the 80 men.
You want to be number 100 and just pile on the top of that.
And I need to know the 80 men we're talking about. If we're talking about 80 people like you and I, we got problems. If we're talking like 80 football players, I feel better about my chances here, right? 100 RJ Harveys or one RJ Harvey was a gorilla, or so I'm not sure about Mario's question. Is he assuming that there's 100 gorillas taking on RJ Harvey? Is that how I read that?
Yeah, I think he's trying to make
RJ wins.
RJ's a beast and could even not.
No, RJ wins. But I think 100 men could take a gorilla, but the first 20 are sacrificed. At least 20 to 25 are just straight mincemeat. And then can the next 75 wear the gorilla down? Like, I think that's where you're at. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to be pretty. And what prompted this? Never mind. I don't want to.
Why would you want it to be pretty though? Yeah.
No. At Mr. Matt Dolan, this I feel is personal and directed at me, requesting a "What's in the Box" style question. If you had to marry one of these women, the lovely Jada Pinkett Smith or the lovely Jordan Hudson, which one is it going to be? And the instruction to you is to not let me change the subject. And you know where I stand on issues such as this. I don't really like this question. I don't like being forced into these choices. This Jordan Hudson seems like a train wreck, right? This is a whole thing with her.
As opposed to the...
I've been there, done that. I can't do that kind of crazy again.
I've got follow-ups, but you're not going to let me ask him.
No,
I'm sorry, but in this scenario, Jada Pinkett is the normal one?
Yeah. Well, why would she not be the more normal one? Though the Jordan has shown a proclivity to someone older than her, so that's a benefit in my direction.
And I saw today on Twitter, Trace, that is not the first.
For people not aware. People not aware, she's the significant other of North Carolina. It's so funny. North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick plays the Knights.
Jan has follow-ups as well. No, this for people not aware, I learned this today. This is her last boyfriend prior to Bill Belichick was 64 years old. She was 20 at the time.
She was 20. Well, people like different things. She likes some older
there's something going on. There's a thing here.
No, she likes older people. She likes to relate to I don't know. This control in the interview and all this nonsense. People don't understand the way news works. I was in the business. You do interviews that are much longer than what you air. So all these people claiming fake news and all that kind of nonsense is just ridiculous. You do 15, 20 minutes and you chop it down and you got 4 or 5 minutes. It's crazy.
Let me just walk through the last 6 comments on screen in order that I received them. Right?
No.
Hold on. This is bad.
No.
You need to slap Chris Rock. Jan with a what? Jan with a cuckoo bird. Troy with a wow. And then our good friend Mark Soskin out of nowhere. I think David Belfort starts by the 4th game. Love it. I love the fact.
Wow, that's a hot take.
Yeah,
that's a hot take.
And I got to thank you for answering and hard to swallow, honestly. So Mark Soskin, like single-handedly keeping.
Thank you, Mark, for bringing the show back to its purpose. UCF guy 1203 on Blue Sky. All right, here's the build-up on this premise. Should Rich Wallace be fired, like UCF fans ask for, with Gus and Johnny, since baseball players can't keep track of how many outs there are versus West Virginia? That was not a good play for the Knights in that game. Or do we finally blame athletes, or with players getting the money? Should we hold them more accountable? It does bring up an interesting thing, perhaps for a future discussion around the kingdom, is the accountability. And, when we opened the show talking about Jason Johnson, and again, I believe him in the moment, but played on the dime, UCF dime for all of spring camp and collected a paycheck or two, right? In all likelihood.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding this question right, a mental error by the player, I think, is on the player.
Yeah.
Like I understand you want to blame but in the heat of the moment, like the coach can't yell 2 outs, 2 out. Like a mental error is on the player. And you
remember
can
the
argue,
Iowa State? Was it Iowa State? Arizona State in the kick return.
Arizona State.
Arizona
Yes.
State. And then the risk interception may never have occurred.
It's great. Is Christian Peterson still on the team?
I don't know.
Okay. Let's so we need
somebody,
some research. Yeah.
We need a research intern.
Mark Soskin, can you
Mark?
Don't we have interns?
Yeah, no, semester exams, things like that. At Black Gold _Ed, why are the Gators of the Big 12? They're the lacrosse champions. And much like men's soccer, where you see South Carolina is in the same league and the Sun Belt with UCF, some of these leagues don't have enough schools to field. So, the Gators have a lot of sports, but the SEC does not sponsor lacrosse. So they join the Big 12 for that. At 2 letters, 2 words, Robert, is Mamadou Njai the Benedict Arnold of UCF Sports? I'm just not incensed by this story at all. I got to tell you, this is not really anything new. What has been, I don't know, I put reported in quotes, rumored. People change jobs. People seek more money. If you compensate them enough where they are, they may not seek to go elsewhere. So I just don't see what the problem is with all of this. I'm not incensed by this.
Yeah, I honestly like
Mamadou and Mustafa going to Cincinnati and a quote unquote package deal. There's a lot of money being thrown out by Cincinnati that UCF was not going to pay for either of these individuals, and they move on.
I don't care about any of that. I honestly don't care who's going to Cincinnati. I know Cincinnati fans think it's his he could have gone to any school. I think the thing that has people rankled is the allegation. And again, there's no reporting and proof that this happened. But the allegation that Mamadou was shopping them as a package deal much earlier before the portal. I think that's the thing where people are saying you're being paid by an employer in UCF and you're actively working against UCF. I think that's the thing that has people fired up. But again,
it works both ways. It's never happened the other way. It's never happened the other way.
Yeah,
you get players that come with coaches. Chasen Johnson's going to USC. I understand it's not the exact same thing, but he's following somebody he knows. It happens.
Yeah, I think it's probably I think that's why people are screaming and hollering from the high of like, let's sue this person, let's breach of contract. And I reached out to the Sons of UCF legal expert Michael Hoffman of our good friends at Warner Hoffman, Greg Garcia, and he said, listen, there's one reason why UCF won't do that, and that reason is discovery, because everything UCF's done then gets also called in the court, and there's no chance they want that to happen. So you're not wrong in the sense, but I can see where UCF fans are chapped about somebody who was quote unquote one of our own, on contract, on staff, was actively working against you. It's the ultimate, the calls coming from inside the house situation, and I can see why people are rankled about that if those allegations are true.
At UCF Knights win, who's more built by UCF, Dylan Gabriel or Mac McWilliams? Dylan Gabriel.
I need to know, do either have a degree from UCF? I don't know if Mac graduated from UCF. I don't know what his academic standing was. I don't know if people actually go to school anymore, by the way, on the sports teams. But I need to know if one of these guys actually
when do they go to school? If they're only there for a couple of months.
That would be my – I need to know who has a degree. Because you have a degree and you have paperwork, then that changes my opinion. If not, probably go Dylan Gabriel.
Was with UCF longer.
He was.
Right.
But I don't think he has a degree. Does he have a degree from anywhere? Does he have 3 degrees? How many degrees does he have?
Dr. Gabriel.
Can I get somebody on the research staff to tell me the amount of degrees Dylan Gabriel has, please? Thank you.
That's you out around the kingdom.
I'm otherwise occupied currently.
Yeah. At Brian W. Peterson, UCF and fans are celebrating some UCF fans, Brian, are celebrating the commitment of 2026. 2026. Quarterback Kane Archer this week. What % chance he actually ever plays for UCF? Slim to not a lot. 26%.
What, 26? So we got how many months? I get 17%.
I mean, who knows? Goodness. Write down the quarterbacks. Which we did, by the way. I got to find where I wrote that down. That was something we did on Around the Kingdom, I think, where we wrote down the quarterbacks. Who's on the team? Now Dylan Risk is out. So that's a slim list. At UCF _Zach, TT versus TT. He's mentioning me and who he refers to as Trifling Terry Mahajer. Friendly arm wrestling contest. Who you got? I'll let you choose. I'll take no offense.
I mean, as far as I understand it, Terry Mahadra, a former college athlete, played college sports. So I assume he's probably had some training in his life around fitness and whatnot. He still looks pretty big. But here's the thing: he wears a medium. You don't. So I don't know what you're dealing with on the
medium.
Yeah, he's got the tight. He's one of these guys. Trust me, I know these guys. I don't know what you're working with there. Don't do that again. I know what you're working with there. Don't do that again. I don't know what you're working with in terms of the
why do
bicep.
you see? These would be innocent things.
Yeah.
But taken
I'm trying to help you.
by you. These are and that'll be the dang screen capture that freezes. It'll be something ridiculous.
The one with you and I's Bert and Ernie was really unfortunate as a screen grab by YouTube. I'm gonna go Terry Mahadra because now you yelled at me.
That's
so
fine.
I'm gonna go Terry Mahadra.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And there's no need to play what's in the box because I chose Jada Pinkett Smith. I think
that's not true, Trace, because they're good friends at Alumni Hall. Always want to find out what's in the box. You can find them.
I feel like we played that
Trail.
game. I feel like Mr. Matt Dolan set up the question. I feel like
rummage. I love a good rummage. Love a good this one. Oh. I like this one right here. This one feels good. Actually, this one's stuck in my hand, so this might be the answer.
Am I gonna like this question?
This is an easy one. This actually aligns with last week's questioning. Have you ever gone through the 10 items or less line with more than 10 items? Of course not.
Probably, yeah. But, are you counting like if you get 2 containers of yogurt and that takes you to 11? That's just yogurt.
So, see, listen.
Now, 11 or 12, nobody's counting. You ever seen anybody thrown out of this line? By the way, do these lines exist anymore since all of these retailers make you do all the work in these stores? We've talked about this before.
Listen, I'm shocked that Mario draws a line at never. I don't know if this is kidding or not.
Mario has
Buccaneer
some
Bruce
very
is yes,
interesting...
Jan no, Troy really upset about this. I don't know
whoa,
what this
what
means from Just
about?
Incredible. I don't know. He's just upset about this. I'm not really sure what has angered Troy this evening.
Troy,
He's just not happy. He's not happy with this.
Who's enforcing these lines? Do you see these lines? When all these places are making you bag things, price things, weigh the fruit, all this stuff that
That's
goes on.
self-checkout. I'm talking about the 10 items or less line.
Listen, exist.
For the first time, you and I agree on this because I am of the same mindset. If I have 2 boxes of Pop-Tarts and that's my 11th item, that's 10 items. It's the same thing.
I'm not going crazy. I wouldn't go 15, but I feel like you're good on 12.
What is your so 12 is your limit. So if you're at item 13,
I will tell you, I'm probably not doing a lot of counting in this situation either. So I'm just going because nobody's enforcing this. I know rules and chaos.
What would you do if they did enforce it? Would you schlep back with your items to the regular line? What would you do if you got enforced? And
I would forego however many items, probably 2. And I'd say, well, then I'm not buying these. Probably at that point.
We got a lot of people. Matt once had 12, checked out 10, then got back in line and did the other 2.
Oh my goodness.
Matt Dolan.
What? No, I would just not buy those 2. There'd be no 2 times through the line.
Troy just learning how math works. Is that 4 or 1? If you have 4 limes, is that 1 or is that 4?
Are they separate or are they in a bag?
That's a great question. If they're in a bag, that's 1. Yeah.
So
Who
if you
puts
have
limes in the belt by themselves, Troy? What are you doing to yourself? Have you seen those belts? They're not clean. What do you go to Winn-Dixie and tell me those belts are clean, Troy?
Do you buy limes?
I'm a lime guy. Yeah, lime guy.
What do you mean for cooking or for beverages?
Both.
Limes and water?
I do. I'm more of a lemon and water guy. I will do limes in some sort of a cerveza situation, but I like a good little zest on maybe some steak, some chicken, a little lime squeeze there. I don't like the little thing lime that you buy with the water. I don't like that. I need a fresh lime.
You need a fresh lime.
Who doesn't need a fresh lime? You're like a lime juice guy?
No, I'm fine with limes.
Do you own lime juice?
No.
Do you own limes?
Not currently.
Do you sometimes own limes?
I have. There's occasion I've had limes.
What is your fruit of choice?
This is like where you try to squeeze another question and get 7 more minutes.
I see what you did there. Squeeze and lime. I see what you did there. What's your fruit of choice? Are you an orange, apple? Are you a lime, lemon?
I like the berries. I like the blueberries, the strawberries, the raspberries, the cranberries, pineapple. Not big on any of the melons, honeydew, watermelon, cantaloupe, none of those. Yeah, blackberries. Blackberry. I don't have blackberries a lot, but
Jan would like to not bring you vegetables.
Remind me never to have you bring me any vegetables. What am I doing? Vegetable delivery? I'm putting 12 items in the checkout line and delivering Jan and Britt vegetables as they are my nearby neighbors.
You could. I mean, Uber Eats.
I've never used Uber Eats. I can go out and get my own food. I'm not having food. No, I don't. I'm not paying $26 for a Big
Listen,
Mac.
the fees are absorbent. I'm not going to lie to you there. Well, see, you don't have the problem I have. You're always at so you're not watching a big game. You don't want to leave the house, and you're hungry, and you're involved, and you just need some food. And wow,
no,
Buccaneer Bruce, limes and lemons and the cornbread. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Limes and cornbread
and lemons, apparently. Mario, big Uber Eats guy. While I hungover, that's on brand.
Yeah, I could see it's on brand. All right, it was another entertaining Sons of UCF Live. It was good to welcome in our newest member of UCF women's soccer, Payton Patrick. We thank her for being with us. Thank the folks at Influencer Council for setting that up. And the contributions of all of our Sons of UCF intern army for all of the various reports. We wish Jason Johnson the best as he crisscrosses the country. And we thank you for being with us on Sons of UCF Live. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Stroko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
I'm Trey Smith, and thank you for watching the Sons of UCF.
Way back,